Hello everyone, my name is Prasad, and on the screen there you see my picture 15 years ago. So almost 15 years ago, I started a new journey in my life. I left India and flew to United States to study at the University of Cincinnati. I knew that I was coming to a land of opportunity. I knew that the journey I would have will be fun-filled, will be exciting, will be thrilling and shocking. So the first shock I had was when I was traveling in the airline. The air hostess gave me green leaves and some bread. Back then, I did not know those green leaves were called as lettuce. So right away, I started missing my country. I started the rice and curry that I used to eat at my home. I missed everything. I missed my family. I missed the stench of the soil. I missed the people back at home. So, I was hoping that the flight will give me some rest, but unfortunately, I had to stare at the blue skies and water for most of the time. I was tired, I was crying, and I was missing my family. So my family back home were very confident, and they were happy about my journey to the United States. But here I am, I'm missing them, I'm calling them time and again, I'm sending them emails, and I'm also chatting them for hours together, and I have been taking pictures so that I can send to them. And one day, I was sending these pictures using the postal service, and the postal service lost a precious photo album. So that's when I started using my friends and family to deliver goods to people who were traveling to my family in India. So that's the beginning of an idea. So that's the beginning of friendship. I saw a problem of reliable delivery, but I had one more problem. The problem I faced was I did not know when and where people were traveling. I did not know whether those people were able to carry stuff for me. So I created an online tool that will allow us to post information about who is traveling where and whether those people will be able to carry stuff for other people. So that's where the idea of this online tool came into play. So Manyship is a repository of this online information. It holds the information of the people who are traveling, and it also has information of senders who have requests to send goods to those specific places. So people who are traveling, they post their information, where they're traveling, when they're traveling, and how much they can carry. And senders who want to send goods to those travelers, they tell what they want to send, how much they want to send. We are not a shipping company. We are not a logistic provider. We are just a technology company focused on sharing information effectively. Think of us as Airbnb for extra baggage space. So, you might be thinking, wow, this is a great idea. Or probably you're thinking it's a crazy idea. Because there is a lot of trust, security, and safety involved. So how do we manage the trust, security, and safety? In fact, the cornerstones for Manyship are trust, safety, and security. We have provided so many features that will help build that trust among the members. So you may be interacting with your friends and family, or you may be interacting with friends of friends, or friends of friends of friends, which are effectively strangers. So what we did was we built tools like looking at the trust score that you share with other members, or looking at the public profile of the member, or reviewing their ratings and reviews, and also looking at maybe sending a private message to the member. We also have a good customer service that is very responsive so that you can get feedback from the customer service for the transaction that you are doing. Hundreds of people have trusted us and they have sent goods and products. Most of the products that we see are currently categorized into chocolate or candy, or maybe apparel or documents, and then sporting goods, medical devices, and electronics, and books and stationery. So these are some of the products that we have seen have been delivering on our Mailchimp platform. So you might be wondering who we are. We are just hardworking, passionate, and fun-loving guys who are trying to solve a real-world problem. I am Prasad. I'm the founder, CEO, and developer, and I'm also janitor and a mail boy of many. I have a master's degree in computer science. I have 10 years of working as a software developer and engineer. And I have graduated from Stanford Ignite just a few months ago. And I have been working on Mailchimp for the last few months on a full-time basis. I have friends and family who are helping me to develop the product, test it, and also evangelize it. They also give me feedback. I have a great team of advisors who help me on the legal aspects, on the security, on marketing and engineering aspects. So the Ignite program has given me a big personality change because I was a technical guy with 10 years of knowledge, but I was lacking the business skills. So Ignite program has given me the required business skills and made me a true entrepreneur. If you're looking to check out the program, please do so. Professor Yossi and his team has built a great program there, and it helped me to improve my soft skills, my presentation skills, and also has improved my network quite a bit. So it's a great program, and we should all check it out. And we are here together to solve this problem for not only the students, but also the entire immigrant population. So there are about 1 million students coming to the United States each year, and there are about 41 million immigrants in the United States. So we want to solve this problem for those entire population. And we want to see smiles on parents when they see the pictures of their children when they send it from the United States. So when I came to the United States in '99, I had 3 dreams. I wanted to buy a BMW, I wanted to settle down in Silicon Valley, and I wanted to start my own $1 million company. So it took me 12 years to take care of the first 2 dreams. So I have a BMW now, I'm in Silicon Valley. And I'm also working on a company, hopefully to become a $1 million company. And if it takes me 12 years more, I'll work on it. But I sincerely believe that with your help, I can make it quicker and I can make it more efficient. Thank you so much.
So Prasad, as a member here, and how can we as an audience or Igniter can help you in your journey?
First off, thanks so much for Raj and his team for giving me this opportunity to talk. It's a great opportunity to tell you my story. So I have 3 things that I would love to get help from you guys. So the first thing is feedback. I know that I have talked to so many people and they tell me it's a great, crazy idea or a good idea. So please tell me where I'm going wrong so you can give me feedback on it. So the second thing is about the team itself. If you're interested in becoming a part of the team or sharing your thoughts about it, I would love to talk to you. And the third thing is about the network. If you know any people that you can introduce me to at companies like Airbnb or any of these sharing economy companies, I would love to reach out to you and talk to you. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much, Prasad. A big round of applause for Prasad, please. All right, now to the main event. Let me introduce you to Tatyana Kanzaveli, a real inspiration for me. She is the founder and CEO of Open Cancer Network, startup in the big data healthcare space. She's also mentored at 500 startups and organizer of TEDx Bay Area Conference, which is focused on global women entrepreneurs. So hats off to her, and please welcome Tatyana.
Thank you, Raj. I know we've been talking for a long time about having this talk, and I apologize, I'm a little bit jet lagged, just flew back from Moscow. So if I start speaking Russian, just wake me up. Yes, Anyway, we'll be talking about communities, and I had some conversations.
Can we turn up the mic a little bit? It's a little bit soft.
Okay, seems like, yeah. Communities, they mean different things to different people. And to me, you don't build communities for the sake of communities. So anything that you do has to move you forward towards your business goal. That's a fundamental thing. So you're not setting up Facebook pages, everyone else has it. But you have a business goal and you try to figure out with all the different things and all the different places where you need to go to get the right people, engage with you, so you can achieve your business goal. And that always has to be, everything that you do in this space has to be always balanced by whether it will get you to your set of business goals, right? Now, how many of you are doing startups? Okay. I should have asked how many don't. And for how many of you have this question, should you build a community or you shouldn't? Or you know you, okay. What's your question? You think you or you shouldn't? And everyone else thinks you should build a community, right? Okay, good. So, in the next, so why I think we all understand and we all want to build communities, because things have changed recently, and they changed like drastically. You know, I've been in business for a long time, and the whole marketing was focused on broadcasting, right? You issue press releases, you publish stuff, so it was like outbound, and now, you know, we're all entrepreneurs, but we're also consumers. And what I don't do anymore, I don't necessarily trust brands, because I haven't seen any brand that will come and say, we have this horrible product that will break in about a week after you get it, right? No. So they tell they have the best thing. So what we do when we make our purchasing decisions, we ask our friends, right? We read reviews. So basically, the brand in this outbound messaging is kind of lost quite a bit of influence on us making our decisions. And that basically forces us to play a new game. And it's much more difficult game to play, because it's easier just to create content and to push it out. But it's much more difficult to engage people in a way that they will be talking about how good your product is, how great your company or service is, right? And I don't want to oversimplify things, because it's very, very complex. And it's different for many people. Because if you think about overall social engagement, then it's not just single-dimensional, it's multi-dimensional. And why is it that? Because if you have your product, then you have the whole ecosystem of different types of people that you need to talk to. And so that's the first exercise that you need to do. And part of that will be your potential customers. Some of them will be influencers. Some of them will be media people. So you need to understand what are those bubbles, and there will be different strategy on engaging with different people across different channels. Make sense? Right? So it's not one size fits for all, because there are different people that they do different things and they use different channels, right? So, and I think that's kind of, at the high level, what you need to understand. That it's a multi-dimensional game, and it's really specific for the group of people you're trying to outreach to. Now, there are a lot of great things and great communities out there, and success stories are just amazing. You look at Sephora communities, you look at Dell, amazing stuff. And it took an effort, but they built it within a short period of time. Very engaging. You go to Sephora, community side, and I know there are 50-50 boys and girls, but I do it. You can check all the reviews and people talk. Nice, right? The challenge for us entrepreneurs is that no one knows us. It's not like I've been an existing successful brand and now I'm, introducing community. I have people who are buying my product. So for startup, no one knows you. Like, why would suddenly people start engaging with you? This we're all busy, so if someone comes to me and wants me to like yet another page, I was like, okay, I'll probably like it, but most likely I wouldn't go to that page ever again or contribute or engage in any discussions, right? So for unknown brand, building community is not trivial. And of course, it's not trivial, it's even like very, very hard to get your arm around. There's so many different channels. We have YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and discussion boards and your blogs and Instagram and Pinterest. As soon as you think you figured it out, something else comes in and changes everything. And every single channel has its own properties. So you would say, okay, some people say, you know what, I just create a Facebook page, and that's that. And my thinking always is, you do community to meet your business goals. And if we just look at one aspect, customer acquisition, then I think it's appropriate to say, where are my customers? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on Twitter? You need to analyze the whole space, because ideally you want to be where your customers are. Because if you tell them, I'm only on Facebook, and most of your customers are not on Facebook, and they're elsewhere, you'll be missing a whole bunch of people. So you always need to understand that there is a business goal, and it's not like the most convenient thing that you will do will get you to your business goal. And there are many different tools and analytic tools that will allow you to kind of make sense of the space. Now, every single channel has its own property, and from what my experience doing communities since 2007 is that most likely you will need to use more than one channel, and you play differently. So it's much easier to create a piece of content or sub-strategy and say, okay, that's what I'm doing everywhere. And what happens is that some people come to your Facebook page, to your Twitter, and they see the same content, for example, and you're not engaging with people. So that's usually like what we get you that far. So you really need to understand how to engage with people, how to identify different types of people within your community. And this is a commitment. So I put this slide. This is basically the story how I started with communities. And look at the day, 2007, right? At that time, I was selling outsourcing services. It was hot back then. And as I was, running sales, I was always thinking on how I can build my pipeline. And at that time, I don't know if you remember, you couldn't go to LinkedIn and just create your community. You had to request it. At that time, there were a few big brands who were allowed to create. But other than that, you had to send a note to LinkedIn. And I told to the management of my company that I want to build a community for software development outsourcing. And I was laughed. I was like, okay, so who will join it? Like your friends and family, 50 people, and what will be the value, what you can get business value out of it. But from my point of view, it was a test, and no one was talking about communities back then. So I just pulled the number today. It's like 16,000 people. And you have to understand that I spent 0 time on this community for the last, how many years. So, I got it going, and it's growing, but I'm not there. I'm not entertaining, I'm not curating, I'm not posting anything, but I was able to get enough different types of people that it became a healthy community. I made my share of mistakes in terms of how I was thinking back then. I can build this community. So first, I got permission to start a community on LinkedIn. And again, back then there were no Facebook. Facebook opened up later for businesses, and forget about Twitter. So I'll just give you an example of certain things you can probably relate to. So first I said, okay, I know lots of providers. So I was a provider of services. And I outreach, and I create a personal invite to them, and I explain, I do this thing, you guys definitely should join. And some people did. So I got to about 100 members, and then I realized that, well, we're all trying to sell to each other, but we're all, providers of services. So that gave me a clue that I need to think broader in ecosystem, from ecosystem point of view. And I said, okay, I definitely need to have buyers. So I started outreaching to IT executives and telling them, well, I have, 100 providers, and they might answer some questions. And so I started building that side. And I realized there are influencers. There are people who were speaking at the events, writing about outsourcing. So I started inviting them. And basically, I was just putting all those pieces of the puzzle together. And realistically, and I have a slide on that, from my experience, and I built many different communities. So basically, at the time when I figured out how to start, and I was no one knew me in that space. It was new space to me, right? And my goal was to become an expert, to speak at events about outsourcing, to become a person who can advise executives in IT space on outsourcing solutions. And of course, that will help me to sell services, right? When I was building it, I realized that they came up with methodology on how to identify different players within the community and how to get them engaged and how to grow from 1 to 100 to 1,000. And then I realized that when you reach about 2,000, 3,000 people, things usually start changing. People go into a more sustainable communication mode if you have the right mix of right people. So what I did at that time, I didn't put the slide, but I decided my background before that was Pricewaterhouse, so I was raised on methodologies, right? And when you build methodology has to be applied to different things, right? So I decided, okay, I'll take my methodology that I think I've developed in my mind and apply it to very different community. So I started food lovers. I love to cook, I like food. So there is another community, and again, it was just basically for me like to prove a concept. They have a methodology that can be applied on completely different domains. In that community is doing really well. So like, again, thousands of very active people on LinkedIn, and at that time, Facebook opened up and Twitter, so I set up food lovers everywhere just for this, just to see how it will play out. It's doing real well. I'm not monetizing it because I don't have time. I probably could by this day. But the point is that you need to understand, all the different players, all the different channels, and of course, my game plan for all the other spaces that I've been in, and I've been in many different spaces, have been always on identifying different types of players, mapping through different channels, understanding really well properties of each single channel, and then playing them. So I always feel like I'm You know, I have an orchestra and all the different instruments, and they all play different music, but you need to figure out how to orchestrate if you actually get a beautiful music as a result. If you don't practice and don't play with every single channel, you will never learn nuances. So I would, and again, you can outsource these functions. I usually do it on my own or with people I really trust. It's very easy to damage a brand. So it takes time to convince me as a startup or someone to even look or like my page, right? Now, if there was a piece of content, something that wasn't good, and I lost that one person, to get that person back is very expensive, if not impossible. So that's why I'm very careful on the content and play, on engagement model, because I really feel that as a startup, I can't afford losing people. And people don't understand that there is a cost in losing people. Next slide. So this is the diagram. I couldn't find mine, but I just wanted to kind of go back to this notion that communities have, in this is I'm talking more about custom communities, but they have a life cycle. And the amount of effort and amount of strategy and types of things you do at the beginning are different from when you reach certain points. And at the beginning, I usually say, you have to be like an entertainer. You need to be able to attract different people. So I was playing all kinds of games. I would create different profiles, I would ask interesting questions, and I'll answer this question as being someone else, just so I can get the right people, and I'll get that question, I'll post everywhere, but you really want to create the environment and attract the right type of people. And there is a whole theory. I have blog posts that I did a while back on different personas. So people have different personalities. I'm not you, you're not me. So some people love asking questions. Some people love answering them, and there is a whole research on that. So if your community only has people who like asking questions, but you don't have people who like answering them, you have a problem. And in opposite, people who love helping other people, they just love doing that. And if you ask any community manager, they know those people. Now, if you have them, they're just looking, how I can help, how we can answer, no one asks any questions, you will lose those people. So unbalanced community is not healthy. And it's up to you to figure out what type of people you need, how you get them on, to engage, and what type of things you put in place to help people to exhibit good behaviors. So this initial phase, when you start growing, it's very critical for you to be involved and have people who really understand, like, I'm doing my own startup and it's a community platform. So the second person I've hired was VP of Communities, because it's so important to me. And I spend a lot of time thinking about every single step in the process. So new member joins, who will be notified, what type of script we'll send to those people, how we keep them welcome and engaged and everything else. But this is key for me. But you need to see how much of that, but it's very structured and very methodology on how to keep them going. And you better have people, community managers at that stage more involved at any other stage. And I've done a lot of plays since 2007 on the content side. And it's very important on the content. It's not the broadcasting, but at the same time, it's real helpful for your community members to be able to curate the best content related to your space. So you need to talk to to people. You need to respond to whatever they're saying, but you also need to be able to identify amazing content in your space. And I'm not saying you necessarily creating every piece of content, but you doing in-depth analysis of the best content creators in your space. And it could be bloggers, it could be reporters, it could be a mix of those. So I can't tell you how much time I spend on identifying the best content and curating. And for me, being the geek, like somewhere in the back of I use Yahoo Pipes to make sure that curation happens really, really well. So if it's a new terminology for you, I would look into that. If you have questions, just talk to me. But I've done an experiment. You know, it's me. I'm like, okay, if I have an idea and it's kind of interesting idea, I usually try to experiment. So on the content side, I did another experiment. So I have this notion that if I can find and curate the best content in some kind of space, people will follow even if I'm not engaged. So basically, I was contradicting myself, and I said, let me set up a Twitter account where I'm not following people, I'm not retweeting, I'm not doing anything. The only thing I will do on that specific Twitter account, and I did it a while back, I only provide amazing content. So I did that. I mean, it's free, right? And it was in the food space. So I found the best food bloggers who run all those food boards. I set up all those spikes. I set up all the schedules so it happens in a very meaningful, cool way. That Twitter account, without me like moving a finger, I don't even look at it, has like 5,000, 6,000 followers. And people apparently talk to me, I never talk back. So it's still, runs an experiment. But the point is that some people have a hard time having meaningful, 100, 200,000 followers. I haven't done anything with that account. It has healthy amount of highly engaged people following. Can you imagine if I actually started spending time in responding to people, in retweeting and making comments on this stuff, how fast that will grow? But I intentionally keep it as is. If you're interested, I can give you that Twitter account. But it just proved to me the point of how important the content piece is. Even if you don't play the right way, all the other things, you still might get a lot of mileage out of content. And again, in that space, I didn't bother creating my own content. I just spend a lot of time trying to find the best content in that space. Make sense? Is it too complicated? It's so trivial though, but yeah. Now, about the life cycle, so again, I think the initial phase is very, very difficult, and I think it's very difficult to get to, I'd say 3,000, 5,000 of real good followers and community members. Once you get there, hopefully you can see that people are opening up, they're asking questions, and you can see some activity. And again, this is based on the different channels. There are many different options. So you can set up your own community using one of the community tools, and you can meanwhile do all the other things in other social media channels. And again, it's so specific to what you do. This again, the number one goal is to meet your business goals. You're not setting up just for play or just your life spending time on Twitter. So, and when you look at all the different options, I think that's what we always have to balance. Okay, it doesn't meet my goal, and measure, measure, measure. I think today's marketing is all about analytics. So every single day you measure engagement, outcome, this idea that some of those people will start buying your services and recommending your services. So you measure all the options, you measure all the engagement, and most of all, the impact, direct or indirect on your business. Because it's cool, if you have so many followers, but there is no way you can tie it to any type of outcome on the business side. So I think it's helpful just to analyze. It's hard to see. So I just put final thought. The topic is so broad that I didn't want to put any content that for 99% of you will be relevant. So I want to do more of Q&A. Those are just final thoughts. So be where your customers' partners are. Broadcasting isn't a task, so you need to engage with the audience. And community building is not a casual. It's basically a role in your company. Again, that's one of your business goals, so we have to be managed as such. And in many cases with today's businesses, the success of your company and product will depend on how well you build and engage with your communities. So with that, I just want to open up for questions so I can be a little bit more relevant to it.
Question about your content. Do you have to give attribution? Do you have to give credit to this content that was so good? Or
well, the thing is that I'm not. I'm just referencing the content, right?
Okay.
So it's either tweet, so people still go to the original place. I just put a link.
oh, okay.
So yes, but if you use it in any other way, you better, because you don't want to damage your reputation. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about the Cancer Network and what that's about and how it works and who your users are in your community?
Thank you. We have this big goal that I kind of looked at the healthcare in U.S. and we realized that it's very reactive, A, and B, when you go to see a physician, they tend to treat your disease, but they don't treat you as a patient. And when you start asking questions about why certain things are happening and why certain treatments work or don't work for you, you realize that no one knows anything about you as a patient or non-clinical side. That includes so many different dimensions: your family history, your diet, environment that you were exposed to, and all kinds of other things. So we decided that this has to be done, and someone has to do it. So we decided to build a platform that will allow to gather 360 degrees of data on patients from non-clinical point of view. And we stepped back and we identified all the different pieces within that puzzle. And one of them was, of course, patient-reported stuff. So we built, I'm excited. As you can see, this is my project. But we built a platform that highly configurable, can be applied to any disease. It allows all the players within the ecosystem, such as patients, physicians, researchers, friends and family, caregivers, to connect. And it's highly configurable for every single disease. The one that goes live in App Store, hopefully within a day or so, we'll have time to review. Focus on cancer. The cool thing is that when people create their profiles, we know enough about them that we can be very relevant on the content, on connections, and everything else. So if we know someone has certain cancer type and certain stage, we can immediately connect with very relevant content. There's no noise. We can tell, okay, here's people with the same type of cancer, and by the way, who live close by that you can meet with. Here's physicians who focus on this topic. Here's clinical trial and everything else. Now, when we provide so much value for the community of patients, we also work with top scientists in the epidemiology space to capture certain content from patients that will help them, will help physicians to treat them better, and will help all of us to understand certain things on causation, treatment, and outcomes of chronic diseases. So there are a bunch of questions that we ask in gamification manner that go in depth in certain dimensions of chronic diseases. And I'm excited that the platform is highly configurable. You can set it up for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's, for any disease, that on the back end, we'll be able to see something that no one was able to see before, certain patterns that go across different diseases. So thank you, but yeah. And for me, I'm breaking all of the engagement and community stuff. Granted, I'm building a platform for community engagement.
How active should a person be in terms of moderating a social network? If somebody puts something negative up there, should you moderate it to keep the things positive, or should you let the community, thrash it out?
You need to use your common sense. If there is definitely bad content that's not in the discussion bad, for variety ratio, I don't know, you need to block it, and you need to block users, and I think that has to be like immediately resolved. Now, if someone does bad things about your product or your company, I think there is an opportunity to actually talk about it online and convert some of those people into your supporters. So I wouldn't believe that, because that will backfire most likely. But if you calm down and try to have meaningful conversation, what you will realize that some of those people who put bad references in regard to your restaurant, whatever you do, they might be competitors. So if you start addressing point by point some valid concerns, that will be obvious that they've never been at your place, as an example, they're never tested, they're just competitors. So I would keep that going. So you need to really have common sense. And I would say that in general, I think you need to, if you have a team of people, you don't want certain things to get out of control. So you want to create crisis management plan. If certain things, and they will go up. It's not a question, if or whether they will go up. But you have a plan, so no matter who is managing the space while you're not watching, they know exactly what to do. Those things can escalate pretty fast. So I would always okay, what can happen and what do you do in worst case scenarios?
Sorry, a two-part question is, how do you monetize your account right now? And also, I'm in medical market research, and HIPAA is a huge thing. So how do you work with that?
Yeah. Good question. So monetization is the back-end data, so subscription to aggregated, de-identified content. And on the HIPAA side, it's clear it's patient who tells us or doesn't tell us, and we have a language that explains. So yeah.
So in a startup, resources are always a problem. So how early in the process do you think the community building should come in, and what kind of resources should be allocated?
It's the same as speaking and talking about and selling your product. At the beginning, I think founder is the best one to do all those things. I am the founder, and I've been there many times, but unfortunately, as with sales, initial sales are usually done the best by the founder. So I haven't seen startups who hire those super salespeople. So so you will have to work in your spare time, but you don't have to do those things.
Right.
In terms of when the good time to start community, it depends on what you do. It might be very painful, might not be. So you need just to see how much impact on the business side this will have. It's just very specific.
So to follow up on that, you said the founders have to do it, right? You are very experienced in community building, and you are a founder for people who are more engineering focused. It's something that they have to. You think it's very important for founders?
Or find someone who there's so many people who know how to trade, but they don't know your business, and if they will do it for you, it will come across that they don't know enough, So you need to kind of be engaged in terms of things that, you know, you can assign certain things to beneath the monitor because you want to establish yourself as subject matter expert in the field you're in.
Right.
And I mean, if you can implant your brains into someone else's head, multiply yourself, that's great. Usually that doesn't happen, so you need to kind of play it smart. With certain things they can do for you, but certain things they know that you better explain how what they should respond. It just credibility thing.
I thought I heard you say pipes.
Yahoo pipes.
Yeah, can you elaborate? How do you use that?
So I use Yahoo pipes. I think it's like the best product for us gigs. So if you're not gig, I don't know. But allows you to get a lot of stuff done with the content. It's hard to explain because it has so many different functions. But you can, for example, take content from many RSS feeds. You can sort it, you can remove duplicates, you can sort it and exclude certain words, you can, you know, limit. So there are a lot of stuff just to make just enough of really relevant content with Yahoo pipes that otherwise will be very difficult to do. But it's not that difficult, but if you play with it or find people who can do what you want to do with the content, it's a very useful tool.
What's the URL for that?
Pipes.yahoo.com. Yeah, straightforward. Yes.
If you're going to, as a founder, if you're going to manage a community and you have limited time, what areas of the cycle, ecosystem, do you farm out first if you try to find out?
Again, where your people are.
No, what?
So basically, you know, for me, the rollout strategy that I have chosen was to partner with existing strong communities. There are a lot of, you know, cancer advocacy groups. So, so that's my play, though the tools in the store and it will be everywhere. But I can't afford to buy all those AdWords for cancer and all those ads on Facebook for cancer. Okay, so I just want me to get faster to where I want to be and bring the meaning, you know. I kind of decided that's the rollout I'm doing.
Plus you're getting the community managers of those sites as well.
Well, with me, and again, my background, based on everything I've done, tells me that in many cases, you need to have online and offline communities, and that's what we're doing. So the VP of Communities, she's setting up all the local face-to-face stuff along with online, and I think people underestimate face-to-face. There is a reason we're all here in this room, not all online, and for things like cancer and some other things, pretty much anything, the handshake, I think, is the healthiest thing that will help you to achieve your goals. So we're doing both.
As a follow-up, so following up on the online-offline interaction, I've read a few articles that say when you don't have that connection to the physical or natural communities, then the online interactions kind of die without, you know, some sort of other interactions to inject through conversations.
You saw that screen, right?
Yes.
For my online.
Yes.
This is just basically just on LinkedIn. It grows all the time. I don't do it. It's a highly engaged stuff happening. So I can argue maybe it does, maybe it does not, but it's so specific that you know, you can look at and I'm not doing anything. I don't even moderate. I don't do anything. I don't have time for this. It's completely out of my space right now. I've been in that space for a while. But I'm looking, it's pretty darn engaged. There are many people who are signing up and it's growing, but I'm not doing anything. There is no offline stuff.
Okay. I was wondering, again, if you had the experience of starting a community that does seem to be dying and what you could do to reinvigorate it?
I always, you know, like try to think like I'm a member of the community and we all don't have time, right? So Is it the content? Is it type of people you engaged in, how you engage? Or maybe there is another community that is real strong in your space, and you just need to participate in that one. So and again, I was playing. I started too early before anyone was talking about community, so I had time to play. And every time I would think, oh, I should start this community. I would look at the landscape and I'd say, okay, yeah, this camp has like 1,000 people, this guys have 2,000, and I'm like, I think I can beat that. But in some cases, I would just look and I'm like, doesn't make sense for me to start my own because there's pretty solid stuff happening, and I would just engage with those people. So just, see if it's not you, who else owns that audience, and you analyze and you say, can you compete? Or if you can, then you just need to figure out other ways to do it. Common sense. Anyone else? You have
So how do you keep the community engaged? I mean, let's say you have like these community of 15,000 people.
Well, if it's 15,000, hopefully, if you still have to, entertain at 15,000 people, something is not right. When you reach that number, it has to be pretty much self-sustained thing, meaning that people should
But let's say we have like a few thousand people and you...
Yeah, then you need to ask questions, you do role playing, you need to provide discussion points. You have to do all kind of creative stuff to keep people engaged. That's why in the life cycle, I told you when you're building, it's a different type of things you do when you reach this level. And that includes you asking provocative questions. You frame it that way. You might be wrong, and you should be, but that will generate discussions, and that's your goal. Your goal is not to get the right answer. Your goal is not. So you always have to think about what your real goal is. If your goal is to generate engagement, then you ask provocative questions or state something that obviously is very controversial. People like you saying what, yes. But that will give you a chance to engage. So meaning that that's why I'm saying that we have to be creative and just play on people's psychology and make them play the game. But that's what, if you have to do that when you're like at 10,000, something is not right. At that time, you should have enough mix of right people for them to self-engage, if you will. You still want to kind of monitor if it's your business. For me, that thing is not my business. So I'm like, let it go.
If you've got your own community, then how important would be gamification in engaging the community and getting everyone more involved?
I strongly believe, I like getting candies, right? So the question is gamification and other things in your community. I strongly believe that there is a reason that communist theory failed in reality, meaning that, people will just take what they need and work real hard. And the reason failed is all human like to be paid or, get candy. So in some of the cases, I think you need to come up with certain incentives or giveaways or contests to make it fun. And it's just the nature of people. They want to get something. They like getting things. So you might want to play that game. And I will be playing that game either. Because if I can encourage good behaviors, from my point of view, and reward people who help me, I want to reward them as well. So, yeah, it's just human psychology. I tried with my other company, I was trying to build, people who buy certain consumer good products, and at one point I just put on Twitter, I'm giving away, one pair of jeans every 24 hours. Oh my God, suddenly it became thousands of people were just retweeting that, and I realized that a whole bunch of people just watching for this type of things, and they retweet. So, but I didn't know that, but I just said, okay, I'll just invest $100, whatever, in this, in frankly it worked. So you just need to play. And again, I think in a lot of cases in this type of environment, you need to think, you need to analyze, but don't over-engineer. Meaning you can spend think over lots of time overthinking things. Sometimes it's easier just to try, and if it doesn't work, do something else. Meaning that, like, okay, let me test this. If it's not harmful, you can always quickly do assessment and then change things. So, any other questions?
So in most online communities, the majority of the population are consumers, and there are very few people that generate the majority of the content. So do you treat those users differently? Do you reward them? What are your thoughts on people who generate more content? How do you encourage them to use it?
There is no model for that. If you think about a company that grew up so well on user content, Yelp. So what they did, they said, okay, if you're getting good reviews, lots of good reviews, we'll set up, you will get the status, whatever, in the same with Amazon. And then they do special events for those people, and it's, it became kind of a game for people to get in that elite league. And Yelp have been doing, real cool events for those people. So yeah, recognition, matters. And you're right, all the analytics tell that there are less, very small percentage of people who actually contribute content. Most of the people just scan, but it doesn't mean you don't need them. You need them because they still make purchasing decisions, use or recommend your product, but in terms of the percentage of people who actually contribute versus observers, yeah, lower. Okay.
When do you know you have something? Because I know investors like to see the hockey stick. I don't see a hockey stick. So when can you know that you have something good?
From an investor point of view, you really need to show. His question was, when do you know if you have something good? Like investors like to see hockey stick. From my point of view, and I've been, on the investor side as well, realistically, hockey sticks on financial model, yes, right, you want to show, but everyone kind of knows it's like bullshit. Who knows? My guess is stupid. But once you launch things, if there are no good trends explainable, right, that it's not pure luck, that you have 1,000 users and then 2,000 and 5,000 and so many pages, whatever the metrics are, and you can prove that you figured out why you're getting, double visitors or users or community members every month and engagement, whatever the metrics are. So if you can show trends explainable, that's under control, it's not just you're lucky, it's not just you bribed 10,000 friends, whatever you did, right? I think that's what matters, right? That it's predictable growth.
I find myself puzzling over the issue of your first slide, which was this concept that historically you're a broadcaster, 2 slides down. Historically you're broadcasting a message, now it's people talking about your product, which suggested that you're referring to a company that has a product and the product isn't the community itself. So you use the example of Yelp. In the case of Yelp, the community is the product. I don't see how that's quite relevant to this model, but I think ManyShip is. Like we all just heard about ManyShip, and I'm picturing him sitting there saying, oh yes, communities. I need to create a community. And I'm thinking, well, if I was starting that company, I would want to go and pursue existing communities. Like if there's a community of people who are traveling to India or shipping things to China, I would want to go develop a presence in those communities, get those people talking about my product. If people already are coming to the ManyShip community, they already are customers. I would think that as a small company, the investment would be in the existing communities and getting those existing communities talking about your product instead of trying to create a community around the people who already know about the product?
It's both. It's both. Because, if people will use or the people will use Yelp, they have good reviews. That will be scalable in there. So you need to invest into people. Like in his case, there are ratings and everything that's going on within the community. So if you just go, and I agree with you, in terms of user acquisition, yes, you need to, okay, we want people to travel or students, whatever, different countries. You want to be there. That's a user acquisition, but you still want to be, spending time on once they got into your space to become your loyal community members. When they talk to others and they go, the best thing is when they love you so much that they go and they talk to other people about how good you, and you multiply. That's why you need to do both. No easy answer.
So usually when you create a community, there are different types of people. There are advocates, there are like complete users, and champions, and then there are people who just visit and greet, visitors, and you have contributors, and then you have detractors, right? And you mentioned, and I think it's not necessarily easy to figure out. Like, how did you figure out who's who, and how do you reward or punish? I don't want to say punish, but control some of the content and things like that.
Again, you need to know from a business point of view what's a good behavior is. So the good behavior from Yelp's point of view is people writing good reviews, right?
Writing reviews, not necessarily.
Well, good reviews, because if reviews suck, then people wouldn't read it and say they're bad reviews. So now, how they encourage that, they came up with this, super users, whatever that is, and they build an event. So basically, you need to be absolutely clear. What is the good behavior is that helps me to build my business goals, whatever that is. Now, what can I do to identify and reward people who exhibit that behavior and encourage other people to do the same way? So, yeah. So I'm not it's very simple. So in my case, the good behavior is people contributing their data. This is so important. For them, for other people. And then I'll come up with some type. Right now we give badges, so you earn this, and we, on our way to feel to my cancer. But most likely there will be more attached to good behaviors because that's important.
This is for your cancer.
This is for me. But you need to, for anything, you should be able to understand what's the good behavior is.
So this kind of goes back to the question, why are we building the community? Is it more for brand awareness or is it to actually have customer acquisition? Because if you're going to build a community that talks about your product alone, then there may not be that many people, but if you just build a community around that space or a general area where there are more experts who can come in and talk, then they're not going to be your customers, but maybe they have more brand awareness if you go in and insert your name everywhere. So
and again, it so depends what type of company you have.
So we have a product that's sold to service providers, businesses.
Is it newspaper? Or what do you say?
No, we have a product. We have a web-based application that is being sold to service businesses, but then it's second level being sold to consumers. So the businesses will invite the consumers. So eventually that will be hopefully a wider group of consumers who are using it. So for us, if we bring in the consumers, they'll be talking about it, it's all good, but then the businesses may come in and give expert advice, but how are they going to get converted into the customer? How is the community?
So in some businesses, your users are not the ones. This is very important thing. It's more on an overall startup education side that you clearly need to map out who are your users and who are the people who will be paying. In my case, it's different. So I need to work on both sides if they're different, right? Because
It is different from
right, so you need to do what I'm doing on the data side is different from what I'm doing on the patient side. But I can't, but I have to play both. And the second part is B2B, classic B2B sales, and this part is just
the community for the
exactly. So usually, it's very important for any startup to map it out, because in some cases, your users are not the ones who actually bring you your money, and it becomes more interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, we have been thinking about building communities for membership. So the challenge we have been having is because we are not intent-driven business, people are not looking to making money when they're traveling. And people don't know that they can shift using their friends and family. So how can we build a community in this space like this, where people are not actually looking for doing business in such a way?
I think for you, it's important to generate content, potentially stories of people who have done certain things, and shape them how it was useful, and then make sure that you distribute those stories within the students or whoever your target audience is. Because it's not like you can reuse existing content in the space, because you're doing something new, and you need to more evangelize the space, right? So and again, what I would do, I would look at companies in the shared services space, like Airbnb and other ones, and just follow the path on how they did what they did. So in some cases, it's not worth redesign the bicycle, so just kind of go back, meet with people in those companies and see what they did, but I suspect you need to evangelize and talk about how good it was, how useful it was, and make sure you go to all those forums and talk to people. Because I see on my Facebook many times people asking, "Oh, who's going to that place? I need I see it all the time." So you just need to basically set up all the listening tools. Listen to all those things that's happening, be there when people ask these things, and then generate content that talks about these things. Because for you, maybe a Facebook ad will do real well if you target it for students in certain demographics and such, probably will do well. How about doing?
If you are building a product where user-generated content itself is part of the product, sort of like Yelp, at the beginning when you start the product, how did you allocate resource between building the product to make it awesome and like spending resource on engage with your community?
Well, you need to have your product. You need to have a platform where users can contribute content, right? So I would say you need to think about what is MVP. What is a good MVP for you? Okay? So it's just framing. Because if it's less than that, people can't use it. Right? So what is an MVP that will allow people to go without paying, contribute content? It might be not the everything, but yeah, framing an MVP. Yeah.
In the beginning stage, or especially like content creation, how much content, how often do you think is necessary? Like one thing a week, too much, get a rough feeling?
So I basically measure based on my annoyance factor. So I see people who sometimes come once a day on Twitter, Facebook, and at that time, that's the eating time. Meaning that at that half an hour, I see 20 things from them, right? With all the things they just start reading. And they do it once a day, it's just like nonstop. So, and I usually, well, I know them, but it's annoying to see the same person, even if it's a great content, right? So what I usually my rule of thumb, great content, 1-2 pieces every 6 hours. Like if it's on the content execution. This texted myself, oh my God, great content. But I was like, I just published another, stop. That might be too much. And
Okay, last two questions.
When you're trying to get patients who don't want to talk about things, who are part of the community, how do you do that?
I think, like I was one of them. I didn't want to talk about it. So I would just leave them alone. Some people want to talk about issues. Some people don't want someone to talk about certain issues at the right time. And I'm not going to force people knowing that they're going through the hell to do certain things. So I'm like, whenever they feel comfortable, and to make them feel comfortable, yes, but to force in this space, absolutely.
Okay, last question.
So, anonymous questions. Sometimes users want to have also their real name not used. So how do you find yourself able to choose user nicknames or they have real names?
Again, for what I do, so we allow them to be whoever they want to be. Because people just don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about, very personal things, being, identifiable. So it depends on what space you're in and how important it is for you.
Based on the majority or?
Yeah. For me, like in general, I give an option. So basically give an option. You want to be identifiable, you can. You can log in with your Facebook or whatever, but if you don't, you can be an Apple for what I care. So I give an option. Well, thank you. So you know my email, you know how to find me.
A lot of great nuggets of wisdom from Tatyana, and I hope it will be useful for all of you to build your own community for your startup idea. Now for time for some prizes. So Susan is one of the igniter who has started her Munchies business, and she is giving away some prizes for us tonight. The first prize. I saw a few tweets, few nice tweets, the 6-foot games, and the winner is build platforms for them to shine. And this is Daisy. All right. Picture.
Good level.
Thank you.
Okay, and the second one is be humble, get local, tell stories. And this was sent by Ira. And Ira is here. All right. And the third one, actually, we are going to do a fishbowl. So if you have, put your business card here, all of you. You want to add some more cards? All right, are you lucky? And here? Okay. Anybody else? All right, so next, Tatyana, choose right. Close your eyes.
Jennifer Alexander, last year.
All right.
It's a great entry. All right, so that's all we had for tonight, and this is our next event, Startup Hacking with Jeffrey Amour. I think we don't need any introduction. He's the best-seller author of Crossing the Chasm, and he's going to meet us next month. And with that, I want to say good evening, and we'll have some beer and some more food. So I hope you guys will stay a while and network with each other, talk with each other, talk to me, and tell me about your